Hey guys, what's up? So, I was apparently able to finally squeeze in a video just before the year ended, like right down to the wire here. As I'm recording this, it is early in the morning on the 30th, and I am hoping to have this uploaded for the Patreon people later on this afternoon, and then for the rest of you guys by the 31st. So, technically speaking, it's still before the year ended, like right at the end. So, now I want to apologize a bit for not getting out the videos that I really wanted to get out before this time ended. Things got a bit away from me, certain projects that I happen to be a part of, both at work and personally. Not to mention that some of the stuff that I wanted to be able to get done for certain videos I wasn't able to get completed, so stuff just got in the way. And there were other topics that I wanted to come up with that was closer to my older videos, way back in the day, that I'm pretty sure would please, people who watched this channel way back when I, had, more philosophical and social type stuff on here. And I ended up hesitating a bit on some of the topics I wanted to bring up because I really wanted to, present them in a way that was going to hopefully spark discussion rather than anger. The problem is when you start talking about certain ideologies, it's going to get hackles up. And even though I happen to have certain ideological views, I try my best, especially these days, not to make enemies if I can help it. And I really wanted to present this in a way that would, at the very least, spark discussion and thought rather than just straight up outrage. And I wasn't exactly sure how to present certain things without causing that reaction. Now, to be fair, on one hand, I don't really care. I've reached a point where if you're not going to understand something and you're just going to come at me ignorantly, then I'm just not going to have much respect for you and I'll deal with you accordingly. But I don't want this to be a hostile place, this channel anyway. So I have been thinking very long and hard on how to present this stuff, and I've actually written out outlines and decided that what I wanted to present needed to be broken up into different parts. So I'm still going to end up doing this, but it's just that I wanted to kind of break things up, like I said, into parts and kind of explain things, so to speak, like kind of go start from the beginning and explain certain concepts and terms and terminologies that I'm going to be using so that you guys can see where I'm coming from before I then get to the meat of the matter. But yeah, obviously with all that planning I was doing and all the outlining I was doing, yeah, I wasn't able to get the videos out when I wanted. So to kind of make up for that, and also to kind of make up for videos that I didn't do on the martial arts front and also on the geek front, this video is going to be kind of like a smorgasbord of things. I'm just going to talk about different topics and they'll be broken up. And if there's a part in here that you don't want to watch, you don't have to watch it. I'm not forcing you. This is not a place to force stuff. So let's go on the first topic that I'm sure most of you guys care about the most, and that's martial arts type stuff. And I'm going to start on something that I've been seeing lately that I have touched on before, but I just have some more thoughts on it because it's evolved a bit. And that's the subject of the continued evolution and development that I'm seeing in Chinese martial arts, or rather martial arts being practiced on the mainland. I'm sure I'm not the only one who has noticed lately that on certain forms of social media, like Instagram or TikTok or whatever, there are a lot of videos coming out of China, or at least Chinese, martial artists, where they're presenting a lot of videos where they are showing off their abilities, or they're showing off, their skills. They're showing off, their capabilities. Like you'll see guys doing things like, breaking bricks with their bare hands. There's that one there's several guys who are doing things where they'll just like, just have like their fingers outstretched, holding, like pressed against the brick, and they'll just suddenly do that and break it. They're not rearing back to break it. They'll just, I'm pretty sure you guys have seen those. There's also the videos of, you know, guys doing more traditional whacking, but they're like breaking several bricks, guys kicking metal poles, guys like, you know, breaking, you know, big animal bones with, you know, powerful shin kicks, you know, things like that. We'll also see other videos of people like showing more combat maneuvers, like, you know, different kick combinations, you know, punch combinations. Some of them showing off not just traditional Chinese martial arts, but you can see them doing things like that clearly is from Taekwondo or boxing or mixed martial arts. And they're showing all these abilities. By the way, it's rather interesting to me that I'm seeing a lot of this stuff coming from, you know, their social media, like the videos that end up being out here in the West for us to see. I'm noticing that, you know, their videos you're seeing a lot. Look at what I can do. Like I'm seeing, you know, martial arts or dancing videos or gymnastics, stuff that show off, you know, talents, abilities, skills. And here in our social media, we're showing people acting like fools and doing pratfalls, pranks, ridiculousness, like, you know. And again, I know I'm overgeneralizing. There, of course, there's plenty of people here in the Western social media who are also showing off talents and skills and all that. But I'm noticing there's kind of this, the type of goofiness that I see in the social media that's here in the West, you don't really see coming out of China, which I'll get into in a bit because it seems there's a reason for this, and it kind of ties into what I'm talking about. So I've been noticing these videos, and the one thing that is clear to me is they are not only trying to show off their own personal ability in these martial arts, like showing off that, yeah, that they're capable fighters. I'm seeing all types of stuff from, you know, feats of physical strength or physical ability, like breaking things or showing off their conditioning. You know, but I'm also seeing like forms practice, skills with weapons, lots of gymnastics. Like they're really showing off that, yeah, look how cool we are, look how capable we are. And I'm seeing that it's not just in their own, you know, Chinese traditional martial arts. And I'm seeing traditional martial arts being showcased. I'm seeing contemporary wushu forms being showcased, and I'm also seeing modern martial arts or Western martial arts being showcased by them as well. Like I'm seeing the Chinese embracing things like boxing and modern wrestling and Taekwondo kicks and, you know, grapples and all that type of stuff, as well as traditional, you know, Gong Fu or Wushu techniques. There's also a lot of, you know, shall we say, like application videos. You know, they'll like, if this happens, you can do this. Some of them of questionable value, if I'm going to be honest, but others that look interesting or at the very least practical in some way. And all of this stuff coming from there is giving me certain impressions. One is that it seems to reinforce something that I've said before on this channel, that Chinese martial arts seems to always go in certain cycles. There's always these moments where, you know, there seems to be kind of like a rise in quality of martial arts capability and practicality and talent and so on. And then there'll be like a decline and then a rise, and then a decline and a rise, and a decline and a rise. And at the same time, there also is this phase where they'll incorporate from elsewhere, make it their own, and then be like, okay, this is what we can do. And then they'll be kind of like a decline again, and like they'll focus mostly on what they consider to be their arts, and like ours are better than everyone else. We don't need to study anything else. And then there's like a decline, and then the other arts, you know, may look better than theirs or like seem to perform better than theirs, and then they'll incorporate it again and then make it their own again. Like, you see this over and over again in Chinese martial arts history. And again, I've touched on it before in other past videos. One good time period where you see this is during the Republican era of China, where they were looking at how martial arts were practiced and promoted among the populace in Japan. They were looking at Western boxing. They were looking at how military tactics and stuff like that, and incorporated it into their own curriculum. And they were trying to, you know, get the populace to start practicing martial arts so they wouldn't look weak in the East. You know, they were kind of mirroring what was happening in Japan with the modern Budo spirit. They wanted to have their own Chinese variant of it. And what I'm seeing now is kind of reminding me of what I researched and read about that particular time period, where now I'm seeing, like, remember just a few years ago, people were talking about how Chinese martial arts, quote unquote, sucked because, they would go up against MMA guys and get their ass kicked, and people were making fun of Wing Chun, people were making fun of other stuff, like the fake Tai Chi masters, all that. And now we're kind of seeing these videos coming out where they're like, no, we're not weak, we can fight, and they're not just showcasing traditional martial arts, at least their traditional martial arts, but they are now embracing boxing. They are now embracing, combat sport arts. They're now embracing, other skills and incorporating it into their own stuff. So this is kind of reminding me of, that statement, the more things change, the more they stay the same, because incorporating other arts and making it their own is something that has happened throughout Chinese martial arts history. It's nothing new. The difference, though, is that if you look in the past, there was a lot of mixing going on within their own arts. Like one province would, have these styles, another province have this style, master would have these styles, and it was still as, oh, you don't mix or you don't mingle, but it happened all the time. In fact, a lot of famous schools, if you look at their curriculum, you realize that they took from here, took from there. Their master like studied, under this one dude, or he had a friend of his who had a skill that he really liked, so he learned it and then incorporated it into his own arts. Wing Chun's got a good example of this. You got all these close range combat techniques, and then you have the 6.5 point pole. Something doesn't match here. and if you look at the story, yeah, it was incorporated from elsewhere. You see a lot of this. So it's just interesting to me that we're seeing this, like we're now seeing this in real time. And I think it's interesting and fascinating, and I think it's ultimately just going to lead to some more, I think it's ultimately a good thing for them. It's going to lead to, more insight on, combat skills. They'll, be able to take these new perspectives and incorporate into their own and maybe build some new perspectives from that. I think time will tell how well they incorporate it, but I just get the feeling that there's a real push to make their martial artists look strong. And I think that there's a push to not only make them look strong, but for them to actually be strong. So, yeah, I think things are really interesting for anybody who's interested in researching martial arts, not just from a practical standpoint, but, interested in its history, its current development, where it's going, things like that. Though, we kind of have to address the elephant in the room, don't we? And that's on, well, the national push. Because if, again, we look back to history, it's not just the research and proliferation of Chinese martial arts that we're seeing mirrored from the Republican era, but also the push by the government to promote it amongst its people and make their people look capable and strong. And like there was a political agenda behind it, not just martial arts is cool, you guys should practice it sort of thing. And I'm thinking that's going on here as well. It's let's just say it's no secret that there can be, shall we say, authoritative motivations for people moving in a certain direction in that country. I don't want to get too controversial, but I would not be surprised if there was like some kind of like, national push or national incentive to like, you guys need to do this, is good, like showcase our talent and all that, really motivating them to do that. And I could probably go a little bit further into this, but I don't, considering this is like a smorgasbord video, I don't want to go too deep into that. But yeah, let's just say that I think it's more than just a trend that a whole lot of them are all of a sudden showcasing their ability. I would not be surprised if there's like some kind of motivation, like, a political national motivation to show off this stuff. So I'll just leave it at that. But, again, I will also say that, if that's the case, which I'm kind of suspecting it is, they wouldn't be the only country to do stuff like that. So, All right. On to the next topic, which I know is going to probably piss some people off. And this is one that, honestly, I kind of don't care. I need to get this off my chest before I explode. I mentioned social media earlier because this is where I'm seeing a lot of these videos. It's not just on YouTube that I see it. But if we're going to be talking about social media, we're going to kind of have to talk about Elon Musk, aren't we? Since, you know, he recently made something of a splash on a certain form of social media, didn't he? Let me just come out and say it. I'm really glad that he bought Twitter. I am. I'm actually, I'm happy that, you know, he finally, you know, stopped hemming and hawing and, you know, bought Twitter, you know, after he first said he was going to buy it. Then he, you know, suddenly, you know, was about to run from it and then ended up having to be forced to buy it. Yeah, I'm glad he bought it because he got to showcase in front of everybody that rich bastards don't have all the freaking answers. I mean, I've known this for a while, but for some strange reason, people in the West keep thinking that really rich people, for some strange reason, are some kind of ubermenches that are the ultimate geniuses on the planet, like they're God's gift to humanity. And I never really could understand why. It drives me up the wall whenever I keep hearing people kissing the ass of people who, quite frankly, if it wasn't for their money, really wouldn't be all that remarkable. At best, they're really good con men, or they're very, very charming or charismatic, but that's about it. They don't really add much to society at large. They don't really bring anything of real value to what really matters in the advancement of humanity. Now, I know there's some people who are probably going red-faced because you're treating this guy like he's your cult leader for some strange freaking reason, even though he doesn't pay your bills, or he doesn't even know you exist. He certainly isn't helping you in any way, but for some strange reason you grovel at the feet of this guy. But let me spell something out for you. All the things that you keep attributing to him, he's never done. He has not written one line of code. He has not built a single one of those cars at Tesla. He has not built any of the rockets in SpaceX, nor worked on any of the programming for those rockets. He definitely has no freaking clue how social media works, because otherwise Twitter wouldn't be the dumpster fire that it is right now. There is only one freaking thing that this guy has been good at, and it's buying stuff. The guy was born in a rich family. He already had lots of money. He used his money to buy and leverage things to make more money. One of his earlier ventures, in fact, was a banking venture. And he used the funds that he did from those ventures to buy other stuff. Tesla, which originally was called Tesla Motors, he didn't start that. He bought it. It already existed. Two other guys started that company. And that company itself was working off of patents that somebody else made. You know, the technology that those cars run are based off of Nikola Tesla's technology, not Elon Musk's technology, which he doesn't create any technology. The guy, he's not a scientist. He's not an engineer. He's not a technician. He's not a programmer. He just buys things. He bought shares in the company, so he became the major shareholder, so he became the owner of the company. And these days, if you happen to look at the policies of the company, it hasn't been for the benefit of that company. There are reasons why, like, I want an electric car, but I do not want a Tesla car. And part of the reason is because of the really horrible freaking customer service and the really bad customer treatment that you get if you buy the car. I don't even want to go, like, if you have to repair, if something goes wrong with your car, this is just one of the problems. If something goes wrong with your Tesla car, be prepared to spend a ridiculous amount of freaking money to try to get it repaired, because it's not like any other car where something goes wrong and you can go to your nearest mechanic and they can take care of it. No, Tesla wants you to go in-house, and they're going to charge you an arm and a leg for something basic that can be fixed. And they will void your warranty and even shut down certain features remotely if you dare to go to somebody else. They're fighting the whole right to repair movement really hard right now because they want to keep everybody locked in that walled garden of theirs. And this is actually endemic of the, tech world, period. That's a whole other topic in and of itself. But the guy is very anti-customer. Like, it's ridiculous. The guy is not a savior. The guy is not your friend. He's in this to make lots of money, and he buys ventures that he feels is going to make him a lot of money or is going to benefit him in some way, but he doesn't really contribute much into actually making it work properly other than to try to find ways to leverage it to make him more money. And if that means laying off a whole lot of people, because that means that's less money being spent on salaries and vacation times and benefits, then so be it. He's doing the same thing that he's gutting Tesla right now to try to make it more profitable for him. And also the major reason why he wanted to buy it is simply because he wanted to find a way to have a platform to say whatever crap he wants without being fact-checked. He was getting sick and Twitter, for all its problems, even before it got bought, was still a place where it was one of the most, if not the most popular social media platform around. And in many ways, it helped to kickstart some monumentous events in history, like the Arab Spring or the protests that happened in Hong Kong. A lot of the reason why we were able to have eyes on this, and a lot of the reasons why those activists were able to, communicate with each other and spread information about what was really going on, was because of Twitter. I guarantee you, if this dude was in charge at that time, I doubt very much they would have been able to have that same amount of freedom to be able to spell out, what they ended up spewing out. Because for all this talk about free speech, and this is something that people like him love doing, he's not really about free speech. He's just simply about he being able to speak freely his garbage without being criticized or without being taken to task for it. Other people's speech, he has no problem cutting down. Just ask the journalists who, just because they happen to report on the kid who was, listing every time his plane would shut down, he kicked that kid off of Twitter, and then he banned the journalists for just talking about it. They were just reporting on what happened, and he still wanted to ban them. And then he came up with some weak-ass excuse about doxing, and it wasn't even doxing. He just didn't want the information out there, and so he banned it because he could, despite the fact that there were no legal grounds for it, and it didn't even break terms of service on the very, platform that he bought. And again, he didn't even know how Twitter worked. He just bought it. He didn't run it, and he still doesn't really run it very well. He just bought it, and now he's just acting like some kind of monarch over it. What I say goes. I can go on, but anybody with half a brain can see that the guy he's not a leader. He's not a visionary. He's not very good at managing things. He just buys stuff. And even if, let's just pretend that, okay, let's say that he has a good leadership style. It's just unorthodox and we don't fully understand it. He's still not a genius. Again, no technical skills, no computer software skills, not a scientist, hasn't created anything, hasn't really put out any patents of his own, like anything that he can say, I programmed this, I created this, I made this, I invented this. He just buys stuff, and he buys things that have already worked and then leverages these things to make him more money while he just sits back and the money rolls in. Please stop kissing his ass. Those of you who continue to do so, I'm going to be very honest with you. I don't have much respect for you guys. I don't really say that much about a lot of people with other ideologies. Like I try to be a live and let live sort of person, but considering the fervor for a guy like this, I don't get it. And I really have to wonder how little you must think of yourself and other people who actually do contribute to society for you to look at this guy and be like, I haven't even gone into the guy's ethics. This is not a man to follow. But I don't get it. I don't want to get into this because I'm going to start ranting and raving. Let's go into something a little bit more, well, I was about to say more pleasant, but this is another rant. I'll try not to make this one as long. We're already at like, what, 20 minutes? Past 20 minutes, actually. Way past 20 minutes. Video games. You guys already know I'm into video games. And in fact, when I finally do my live stream, which may end up being on January 1st or January 2nd, it's going to either be January 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, depending on what works for everybody. You know I'm going to be doing video games because that's what I normally do. I like playing games. I've been playing video games for, jeez, the Atari 600 days. I remember back when freaking Dragon's Lair first came out. Yeah, I'm that old. And as somebody who's been playing games for a very long time, gaming sort of sucks now. Okay, that's not true. That's not really true. Mainstream gaming sucks now. If you've mostly been playing games on the indie front, or you mostly play older games, or you're not really buying into the AAA, so-called AAA hype. I'm just going to say mainstream gaming hype. And gaming's still a hell of a lot of fun. But if you're caught up in mainstream gaming hype, and or you are too young to know what video game playing used to be like, jeez, I feel sorry for y'all. The amount of crap that's been going on with video games lately is very freaking disheartening. And it's just all about greed and milking people, which is something that I'm seeing. Again, this is something endemic of the tech space, really business period, really. It's not about presenting you with a service or a product that you're going to enjoy, that, you know, bring some kind of, you know, happiness in your life or enjoyment in your life or entertainment. It's just about what can we put out that's going to make us, what can we put out that's going to make us the most money? How can we keep milking these people for money? And unfortunately, there have been, I mean, it's been a slow build up to this point. There's a lot of things we can look at in the past where that's what brought us to this point. Microtransaction, DLC crap, you know, the way they license certain things, so-called live services. They kept finding ways of just, you know, kind of, you know, tightening things on us and making things more and more anti-customer. And by the way, I say anti-customer, not anti-consumer. I honestly think one part, it's a small part, but it's still rather considerable. The word consumer annoys the hell out of me. You're not consumers, guys, at least if you have any self-respect. You're a customer, okay? Look at the words themselves. A customer typically denotes someone who is discerning, who knows what they want, or at the very least is going in looking for a specific thing, and they want to get the most value for their money. You know, they're going to go in, they're going to research, they're going to be like, I want this, and then if the person's not presenting, is this any good? Is that any good? I'm not too sure if this is good, or if they'll be happy with the product, or they'll buy the product and they realize it sucks and they return it instantly, I'm never buying this again, and then they go elsewhere. A consumer, on the other hand, somebody that just consumes, they'll just eat and take whatever's put in front of them. Like livestock. Here, eat this shit. Here, take this stuff. No thought. Just whatever, you know, instantly triggers, you know, a happy impulse. Whatever gets, you know, the dopamine receptors going off. Oh, just take this. Boom. Like a Pavlov's dog response. There's no thought. It's just all emotional reaction. It's like they'll take whatever garbage we give them. Here. And just eat it up. And that's a consumer. They just consume. There's no thought to it. I find the term insulting. And it blows my mind that I grew up being told I was a customer. And now you consumers. Fuck you. Anyway. A whole lot of stuff in video gaming has really become anti-customer. Like, they just shovel stuff and expect you to just take it. And these days, it's just accepted that if, let's say a new game comes out, you guys are super happy if the game works on day one. Like, it's barely expected for that to happen anymore. Like, if the game comes out on day one and it actually freaking works, just works. Oh, wow. I remember a time when that was like bare minimum. You expected the freaking thing to work. If I spend money on something, it better freaking work. I don't want to hear, oh, it's going to work 3 months from now. I'm paying the money now. If I'm paying for the stuff now, it better work now, or otherwise give me my freaking money back and come back to me when it works. No, now it's just like, oh, well, yeah, I know it's messed up now, but give it 6 months to a year and then it's going to be really awesome. The hell? What happened to people's self-respect? What happened to I just the thing that really kind of recently got me thinking about this again, because I go through the cycle of what the hell happened to gaming every few months or so, is Darktide. Darktide. That game gives me so many mixed feelings. Okay, I'm a major fan of Vermintide 2, which was made by the same people, Fat Shark, the developers that made the game. It's a hell of a lot of fun. Hell of a lot of fun. And even though they've moved on to Darktide, I would still recommend getting Vermintide 2 if you got a group of friends who like playing co-op games. It's fantastic. If you like, it's one of those few first-person melee games that actually works, where the combat actually feels really good and has weight and is crunchy and there's a lot of impact. You got hordes of enemies coming at you, just swinging and slaughtering. It's awesome. Seriously, if you've played Vermintide 2, you know what I'm talking about. The game's freaking awesome. And if you're into the Warhammer, I said Warcraft. If you're into the Warhammer franchise at all, if you know anything about, Warhammer 40K, or if you know anything about the Warhammer fantasy, you'll love Vermintide, because you'll actually know a lot about the lore behind it and, all the Easter eggs and things like that. Like it's a great game for that universe. Darktide is a game with a similar style of gameplay, but it's set in the 40K universe. Vermintide is in Warhammer Fantasy, but Darktide is that same fun gameplay, or at least that's what it was supposed to be, the same fun gameplay, but in the 40K universe. So not only are we supposedly going to be having a lot of meaty melee combat, but there's also they're going to be improving the, range combat as well, the gunplay and all. So I was actually gifted the game because I was really interested in it, and a friend of mine, someone who actually watches the channel, someone who actually watches the channel. So, a friend of mine and a viewer gifted me the game, and yeah, booted it up. He and I started playing, and I'll say this much. The gameplay is fun. The core gameplay loop, the mechanics, the combat, the atmosphere, the graphics, the environmental storytelling, the voice acting, it's fun. It's good when it works. And a lot of the times it doesn't work. This game's not finished. They charge people money for this. They said that this was a full release. This is still early access, guys. This is early access stuff. The game is not finished. The crafting system is not fully implemented yet. There's still gameplay bugs going on. There's major problems with the balancing in certain difficulties. There are times when you're playing at a certain difficulty level that you expect it to be like the average or slightly above average difficulty, and it's obvious that a bug went off and suddenly they're throwing everything in the kitchen sink at you. And on top of the fact that there are all these, there's also balancing issues with the character classes that you need to pick. And other things that, right now I can't really think of because this, it's after work and I really need to get to bed, but there are issues. If you look at, forums and you look at certain videos talking about, criticizing the game, really talking about its problems, there are problems. The game's not finished. But they're charging money for this. It's no, this is the launch version of the game. And then they got a cash shop in there. The cash shop works. Oh, yeah. They made sure that worked. But the game part is unfinished. If I had paid money for this, I think I'd be pissed. Okay, maybe I won't say pissed. I'd be very highly annoyed because I will admit, again, when the game works, it is a lot of fun. And I am having fun, playing with people. Playing, when you can get at least one or two other people playing with you, it can be a blast. It's probably one of the best co-op games I've played. And I love playing co-op games. I played Vermintide 2. I played Payday 2. GTFO, which I need to play more of. I like co-op games. And this is one of the better ones. When it works. And what drives me up the wall is I was seeing reviews for the game going, like they were admitting, yeah, we don't really recommend this game right now, but it will get better in a year's time. This game's going to be on. Why are we accepting that? Why are we accepting that? Why are we are now at the point of, yeah, in a year's time, it's going to be great. You know, just like it was with No Man's Sky, just like it was with Cyberpunk 2077, which, by the way, that game's still broken. I don't care what. Look, I actually really like Cyberpunk 77, but there's still aspects of that game, even now, that have not been fully fixed. I'm sorry, it's true. There's still half finished or not completely finished at all aspects of that game. And it's kind of blowing my mind that people are pretending that that doesn't exist. I'm not even talking about bugs. Romance options are still half-assed. The nightlife options are still half-assed. The things that they promised, like, for instance, randomly getting attacked by gangs because of what you may have done to them from prior missions or gigs, that has not been implemented at all. There's a lot of anyway. We keep getting half-finished, partially cooked games and expecting to just fork over the money because within a year or so things will be better. We should not be accepting that. If you go to a restaurant, ask for a burger, they come in, you know, with the thing not even fully cooked and one half of the bun, promising you that if you come back 3 days later, they'll give you the rest of the burger. You'll never go there and eat again. But this is what we're doing in video games. I wonder if some kind of psychological study could be done on how people can just slowly, you know, just throw away their integrity when it comes to buying things from companies. Like we used to demand better from companies that would demand money from us. You know, and we would even be like, how dare you? Like, you charging me money for this, and then after I get it from you, you have the nerve to expect to squeeze more money from me? Because remember, there's like I said, Darktide's not finished. There's still stuff they need to freaking implement and fix. But they got a cash shop in there. And what's the excuse I'm hearing? Well, it's all cosmetic. Does anybody have any sort of integrity or pride to go, like, this thing is unfinished. You shouldn't even be charging me money at all. And you expecting to squeeze, you dare to ask me for more money on something you didn't even finish? Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. And you know, and it's not like, I mean, I'm pretty sure Fat Shark thought when they put this thing out that, you know, it was, I mean, other companies got away with it. Look at Blizzard. They put out freaking Diablo Immortal, and that game's a freaking travesty. I could do a whole rant on that one for at least a good 45 freaking minutes. Anyway, yeah, it's a bit disheartening what I'm seeing with games, and what makes this even more it makes it more, you know, of a conflict for me is that I have to, yeah, the core gameplay is good. There is a good game there, a bare bones good game, but it's just not finished. Oh man, and this is what gaming has become. This is, I have to just sit there and be like, yeah, I gotta wait a year until it gets back. Please tell me I'm not the only one who thinks this way. Like, and I'm just hoping it's a fool's hope. I'm hoping one day people finally go, enough is enough. But the problem is, video games have gone mainstream, and whenever things get mainstream, that's when expectations just, standards just, whatever. Let's talk about something a lot more entertaining. I don't want to keep depressing you guys and showing you rage. Let's talk about audio stuff and music. And okay. Some of you guys who've been around for a very long time know that I'm a major music fan, and I'm really into audio equipment and stuff like that. And I listen to all sorts of things, mostly on the electronic side of things, but I do listen to things like, you know, old rock and even certain forms of newer rock. You know, I like old 70s rock, 60s rock. You know, I listen to Led Zeppelin, you know, Iron Maiden, some good shit. A lot of really good stuff. Of course, hip hop. I grew up with hip hop. I was freaking in New York growing up. Of course, I'm into hip hop. And of course, when it comes to listening to music, generally speaking, you want good equipment to listen to. Sorry, I keep saying. I remember for a time the one bit of audio equipment, or should I say media, that I was the most proud of was this stuff, mini discs. And yes, I still use mini discs. Not as often as I used to, but I still use them. I still got my players. In fact, I am really hoping sooner or later to finally get my hands on one of those Onkyo high MD systems. I want to attach it to the record player that I have in my bedroom, because I got like a system set up there for my record player and, my earbuds and everything like that. And I want to incorporate that into it as well, along with, so I got a proper mini disc system in there and then other things. But the one thing I definitely want to talk about is, like, if you're going to be listening to music, the listening part, not only do you need speakers, if you have speakers, but if you don't want to annoy people in the house, you're going to need stuff for your ears. And that's when we get into the headsets and headphones. And this is where we kind of, if you care, start creeping into audiophile territory. Now, I consider myself sort of an audiophile. I say sort of because while I do care a lot about the quality of the audio and even the quality of the music source, I mean, these days I don't even like messing with MP3s. It's like either FLAC or OGG or nothing. I'll put up with high quality MP3s, but that's like if I got no other choice. So I am a bit of an audiophile in that sense, but I'm not willing to spend thousands of dollars for it. That's why I say I'm sort of an audiophile. Like, there's audiophiles out there that will, money's no object. I'm seeing them spending like thousands of dollars on just a pair of headphones. And I'm just like, what these just go over your ears. Like, is there anything else they're doing? Are they giving you telepathic powers? Are they, like, telling you the future or something? Like, I don't know. But I am willing to spend at least some money, within reason. And one of the things that I ended up diving into, and I don't want to make this any longer. This has already gone long enough, so I'll try to make this as brief as possible. One of the things that I ended up diving into was IEMs, or in-ear monitors. I really am into proper earbuds or in-ear monitors. I've always really liked proper earbuds ever since, especially when I first dived into mini discs and using my mini disc players and my mini disc recorders and using those to listen to music all the time. Since, the mini disc players tend to be something that you can shove in your pocket, when I'm putting it away before going to work or whatever, I always wanted to have, whatever earbuds and stuff I was using, I wanted to be able to fit in my pocket too. Like, I'm not going to be, I know people who do it, but I'm not going to be using these. I'm sorry. Like, if I'm going out somewhere listening to music, I don't want to use this. This is for when I'm sitting here, in front of my PC to listen to the stuff that way. Then I'll use these, which, by the way, these, pretty good. Samsung SR850s, great for the money. Only cost me like $50. Great set of headphones. But when I'm going out, I wanted some proper earbuds. And for the longest time, that's what I used. And then later on, when I was using my phone more to listen to music and stuff, I would always use those until they got rid of the phone jack. I still don't. It's a whole other rant. But needless to say, I am not appreciative of the fact that they got rid of the phone jack, which forced me to go into Bluetooth. I don't like Bluetooth. I don't like it at all. I can go into a whole other spiel on why I have a dislike for Bluetooth. In fact, there's really only one little device that is making me go, okay, Bluetooth isn't that bad, which I'll only go into if you guys want me to. If you guys want me to really dive into what I'm about to talk about, then I'll talk about that device. But this has already gone long enough. The only reason why I'm mentioning this is because I know that a lot of you guys are kind of like me and that you don't really want to spend a whole lot of money on things. So as I'm saying this as somebody who cares about the quality of my audio and cares about, how good my music sounds, I stopped because I, for a while, tried using Bluetooth earbuds and I didn't want to spend too much money on them. And quite frankly, I mean, I know sooner or later the market will change, but right now, You get anything under $100 and you're getting something that's average at best. And if you're fine with that, good for you. And in fact, I know a few Bluetooth earbuds around $50 or so that are actually not bad. There was one that pissed me the hell off, and if you want, I'll get into that one, but they're not bad. The sound quality is actually pretty decent, and the controls more or less are okay, but I know sooner or later they're just going to die because the batteries in them they're not going to last long, and then I'm going to have to go and spend some more money, where if you get yourself a good set of wired freaking earbuds or earphones, as long as you treat them well, they'll last you forever. So it makes no sense for me to waste money on Bluetooth, whatever. So that's what led me into these babies. I got more than these, but I could tell you right now, for those of you who care about this sort of stuff and you don't really want to waste that much money, for $15, I'm not kidding, for $15 you can get yourself something that sounds a hell of a lot better than a lot of Bluetooth earbuds that cost up to $100. This sucker right here was $15. This right here, and look, see, you can even put a little USB-C dongle so it will still connect to your phone even though it doesn't have a headphone jack. And the sound quality out of this sucker right here, mwah, for $15. I mean, granted, if you're spending, there's other headsets out there that if you're willing to spend like 50, 60, 70, 100 something dollars, they will sound better than these, but this comes pretty close. I'm one of those people that, I love bass. I do. I mean, I grew up in New York during the time of hip-hop. What do you think? But I don't like it when the bass overpowers everything else. I kind of want to hear the rest of the song, too. So when they muddy the mids and kind of muffle the treble, it annoys the hell out of me, especially since I also listen to a lot of jungle and drum and bass. So I want to hear that snap. I want to hear, I want to hear the bit of the sizzle of the, the hi-hats and, cymbals and drums and such. This, really pretty decent bass, but I can hear everything else. It's nice and clear. This is it's like a slightly, I'm not going to say these are completely neutral in their sound. They're neutral-ish with elevated bass and a slightly elevated treble. These are really good for $15. If you're willing to spend a little bit more money, man, I got a bunch. I got a ridiculous amount of these. Seriously, I kind of went down the rabbit hole with IEMs when I was researching them. These babies right here, KZ, ZSN, no, is this, no, it's not ZSN. The KZ ZS10 Pro X's. That's these. I had the original ones, which is the ZS10 Pros, which were really good, but the ZS10 Pro X's, fan-freaking-tastic, $30. $30, and I have like good slamming bass. The bass that you can feel. You got the rumble in there, but the separation's really good. Like $30. $30. In fact, none of the IEMs that I've spent money on, I didn't spend. Everything was under $100. Everything. Every IEM I bought was cheap, but the sound quality is amazing. The most expensive ones I think I got were these. These right here. And you want to know how much these cost me? $54. And these are really, really good. These are the ones that I usually use whenever I'm listening to something a little bit more neutral sounding, or if I'm listening to my jazz records. These are great. I can't recommend these enough. If you are like me and you're looking for something that is better than a lot of the freaking Bluetooth earbud crap that's out there right now, you want something decent, but you are not willing to spend hundreds of freaking dollars on it, I highly recommend you start researching IEMs. They are so freaking good. You can, and right now the market's kind of gotten a little flooded as far as IEMs go. There are so many really good budget ones out right now where you'll be spending $15, $20, $30. You don't even need to go higher than that, and you will end up with something that sounds really freaking good. Now, if you're one of those really, really like high-end audiophiles, I mean, those guys, they'll look at the $20 ones and whatever, and they're like, yeah, that's pretty good for the price, but you need to spend at least $150, $200. Those are those guys that, they spend more time looking at charts than listening to freaking music. And I'm not saying that they're necessarily wrong, like those units that cost into the hundreds of dollars. Yeah, the sound quality on those is going to be freaking insane, but at that point, it's like splitting hairs. If you just I just want some really good freaking sound and I'm not willing to break my wallet for it because, I'm actually a normal human being in this economy, you can't go wrong with these. Like, if you want, I'll go into a whole video on the ones I've tried and which ones I think are worth it, you know, for whatever music you listen to. But these things have been a godsend. They're one of the few things that have been keeping me sane this year. Like, this, I love the sound of these things. They've been going really well with my, you know, with my phone when I connect it to that. My mini disc players, everything. They just sound great. Fantastic. And if you want me to go further into it, like I said before, I will. Anyway, like I said, I wanted to end this on a happier, more geeky note. Again, I do plan on doing my usual live stream, probably either the 1st, the 2nd, or the 3rd of 2023. Whichever works best for you guys, also as well as me. I'm hoping to have a blast. I'm not exactly sure what games I will play. And, you know, I know usually I, like, put up a poll and ask you guys what I want to play. This time I'm just going to kind of, like, play it by ear and just have a blast with you guys like I normally do. You know, we just kick it, shoot the breeze, act silly, that sort of thing. You know, a way to kind of relieve the stress of the year, because I'm quite certain that this year was probably rough for a lot of you guys. You know, it's been a topsy-turvy year. At least it wasn't 2020, right? You're just hoping that, you know, 2023 will be an easier year for you guys. So, I'm done. Let me hurry up and edit this so it'll be up for people. Catch you guys later.